Well, good morning everybody. Hello, welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I'm coming at you with another interesting video for you. Today I want to talk about Alone. I want to talk about season 3 episode 5. So if you haven't seen that episode, I highly recommend that you turn this video off. It will contain spoilers. So let's get started. First thing we see, there's a quote on the screen. It says, "Fortune always favors the brave and never helps a man who does not help himself." This quote was by P.T. Barnum. Now let's get started. We're on day 35. Isn't that a coincidence? We're on season 3, episode 5, and it starts off with day 35. 2:16 in the afternoon, we're talking about Fowler. There's 7 people left. He's singing. He's eating fish broth. He looks like he's in good spirits, happy guy. He's still chilling out under his tarp. There's an annotation on the screen. It says, "The bones, brains, and cartilage in fish heads are rich in iron and omega-3 fatty acids." My personal thoughts on this opening shot of Fowler. I still can't believe that he's using a ridgeline and a tarp. He's been there over a month. This is day 35. It blows me away. Now let's get back to the show. He says the snow is getting lower on the peaks of the mountain tops, and it's starting to get colder outside. Now another annotation comes on the screen and it says, "Current temperature is 35 degrees outside." Fowler says that he's been working on his shelter for about 14 days. Something we haven't seen, I guess. He says, "Do I have the strength to get through?" His shelter is a bamboo wattle. Kind of a nice one too. This is the first glimpse that we've seen. There's an annotation that comes on the screen and it says, "A wattle is a way to make fencing by weaving twigs and branches around stakes." So they go in the ground, they put stakes in the ground like this, and then you weave pieces through. And then the one above this will start on the other side and it'll go against it. So they're alternating as you go up. So it's a pretty cool idea. And this is what he's using for his shelter. My personal thoughts, this is the first time that the show has shown Fowler's permanent shelter, and it looks really nice. He used double walls and he put debris inside the walls for insulation. I thought this was very smart. Cool shelter. He says he can't wait to build a fire inside his shelter. He's done a lot of work. He says fish head soup is running out of energy. He's burned a lot of calories, but his shelter looks amazing. There's an annotation on the screen again. It says, "When the body doesn't get enough protein, it will break down muscle tissue to access amino acids." And Fowler's not happy with the amount of fish that he's been catching, and he's having a hard time with that. Who wouldn't be? Folks, I mean, this is they're on day 35, and if he's not eating, that's got to be frustrating. So he's using his shovel to cut down more bamboo shoots, and he sees boar signs. He finds some tracks, where they roughed up the ground a little bit. He finds boar type activity. I thought that was kind of cool, right? So he sees boar signs. Then there's another annotation on the screen and it says, "Wild boar root around and dig up the ground in search of food buried underneath the soil." My personal thoughts, wow, that's a good idea. You know, if it's good enough for a boar to eat, then it's probably good enough for me. That's what I was thinking anyway. Fowler would love to get a boar. So that he could have something more substantial to eat. So he's planning on setting up some traps for boar. He plans on doing that tomorrow. Let's move forward. Day 36, 10:48 in the morning. Still have 7 people left, and we're still talking about Fowler. He decides to dig a pit, dig a hole. Now the show is starting to show why it was a good idea for him to take a shovel. He dug a big hole for his shelter, and now he's digging a big hole to make a boar trap. I thought this was smart. So he puts digs a hole, and he puts bamboo slats over the top, covers it with a little bit of light debris, and he puts a little bit of light dirt and leaves or whatever on top. And underneath there's bamboo spikes. Man, it's smart. Fowler's smart. He's burnt a lot of calories, but this could pay off, and it could pay off big time for him. So he built it on a boar trail. He found a trail, and he decided there's a fallen log right there. I'll just build it right on the other side of that fallen log, so that when the boar comes through and he goes to jump over that obstacle, boom, he's right there in that pit, falling onto those bamboo spikes. I thought it was smart. I really did. And then I also noticed that Fowler built a tension trap, a tension killing type trap, that he put 2 sticks in the ground, he put parachute cord between them, and he wound up using that parachute cord as an energy source, as a machine or a motor, if you will, to make a killing trap. Very smart. Very smart. He used a split trigger. I thought it was smart. I really like Fowler. The show is really starting to show him shine, and I'm starting to have second thoughts on him. I'm thinking that he'll have a lot of success on the show. Let's move forward. Still on day 36, about 1:52 in the afternoon, 7 people left. We're talking about Greg. He says he's been going to bed hungry most nights. And he sees a big log, and he wants to make a raft so that he can go to another spot where there might have been potential for better fishing opportunities. Another river. He thinks there will be rainbow and brookies in there. So he puts a raft together and tests it in the water. Now there's an annotation on the screen. It says the current water temperature is 44 degrees Fahrenheit. He said he can't imagine being submerged in that cold water. He says this raft thing isn't working very good. This one board isn't sitting very good, he said. That was quoting him. Then he pedals out a little further. Man, I got nervous. And then he came back. Whew, I'm thinking, wow. He took his boots off and they were just full of water. He literally poured the water out of his boots. So he got cold there for a little bit. Moving forward to 5:02 in the afternoon, still day 36, still 7 people left. We're talking about Carly. She's cutting firewood with her silky saw. Not this particular model, but silky saws are really nice. So she's cutting firewood. Her shelter looks awesome. She's got a tarp for her roof. She has a nice hearth, and I'm really happy for her. She's enjoying the evening, looking at the silhouette of the mountains, and it's a very beautiful scene. It's a very beautiful shot that she captured. She says she wants to stay at least one night on the beach while she's there, and says that tonight feels like a good night for that. She was enjoying her campfire and looking at the stars, and then she hears a sound. Sounds like a limb or something fell down or broke. Then she hears another noise as she's getting ready for bed, and it sounds like some kind of screaming sound or something. It was kind of weird. Then there was an annotation on the screen, and it said that some prey animals, like birds, will use alarm calls to warn each other of nearby predators. One thing that impressed me about her is she was still calm. She still focused the camera, and it was night. She kind of uses the camera and focuses the camera, and she sees these eyes glowing. My thoughts, personally, I thought it was a puma. Let's move forward. 8:42 at night, still day 36, still talking about Carly. She says that was close. She goes back to bed. And she said that her philosophy is if she sees one, she doesn't have to worry about it. And if she doesn't see one, then she'll be dead. And if they wanted to eat me, well, they're going to. I agree with her. You know, I think that's a crazy way to think about it. Not in a bad way. I think I would probably accept it the same way she does. I would probably think in a very similar tone to the way she's thought about it. I think she's smart. Let's move forward, day 37. 9:28 in the morning, 7 people left. We're talking about Dave. He's looking at the camera, and he's doing this. He's kind of like, he's saying battery, time recorded, and then he says, what the beep? Oh, it was funny. You could totally read his lips. It was cracking me up. Says he's hungry. He hasn't caught a fish in weeks, so he goes fishing and nothing's hitting. The water is starting to freeze. Did you hear that, folks? The water on the stream or lake by him is starting to freeze. Pretty crazy. The cold is pushing the fish away from the shore out into the middle where it's a little warmer temperatures for the fish. Then there's an annotation on the screen, and it says fish are very sensitive to air pressure and become more lethargic during cold fronts. Now Dave, he said that he hasn't seen any sign of rabbits. Says that he knows that he could trap mice. But they asked him not to. Apparently the show doesn't want them hunting mice or snaring mice or dead falling mice on this Patagonia. I don't know why. Because of hantavirus, it says here. Then there's a annotation on the screen again. It says hantavirus is a fatal respiratory disease caused by direct contact with infected rodents or their droppings. In Patagonia, hantavirus kills 40% of the people who are infected. 40% of the people that are infected die. Wow, that's crazy. So he's disappointed because he knows he could use the mice to survive, but because of the hantavirus being so extreme in the area, he cannot try that. He feels like it's going to be a hunger fest, and he yells. This brings back some memories from season 2 when they couldn't get bivalve, you know, clams and stuff like that. So let's move forward. Day 37, 11:56, 7 people left. We're talking about Greg. He's going to add a couple more logs to the raft to go across to do some fishing. It's a big log. He's toting a big log around. It looks like this log looks like it's like 10 inches in diameter, about 10 feet long. It's a heavy log. And he says it's very difficult, but his entire life depends on this. I mean, he's putting everything he's got into this raft right now. It's a nice looking raft. It looks a little shaky, but for what he had, for the resources that he had available to him, it's a nice raft. Maybe 8 logs or so, you know, wide. And so here he goes. He's got a paddle, and it looks pretty stable. He was concerned that he had enough paracord. Remember, they were only allowed to take, what was it, 40 meters of paracord, which is like 136 feet, something like that. And that's for everything. That's for their whole time out there. So he was concerned if he had enough paracord or not. Let's move forward. Day 37, 2:38 in the afternoon. We're still talking about Greg. 7 people left. Annotation on the screen, it says a life vest was provided to each participant as a part of their safety kit. In fact, there was a lot more items that they get, and I'll talk about that in a future episode. And then another annotation says water temperature 44 degrees Fahrenheit. And then another one says hypothermia occurs when the body's core temperature falls to 95 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. Now my personal thoughts, It's like starting to make me nervous. The show's putting these annotations on the screen repeatedly, over and over and over. And it's almost like they're giving us a heads up of something that might happen in the future. Like, hey guys, get ready. It's kind of what I was thinking anyway. Now there's another annotation that comes on the screen, and it says the body cools 25 times faster in cold water than it does in air. Wow. Now Greg made it. His raft worked out, he made it, and he got a fish, and I'm happy for him. He says this is the biggest fish he's caught since he's been there. He said he's happy that he made up his mind and he decided to be more positive, and his spirits are high. He's in a good place right now. And this was a nice sized fish that he caught. Let's move forward. Day 38. 7 people left, 10:27 in the morning. We're talking about Dan. He says, I'm hungry for vanilla cupcakes, vanilla icing, and then he catches a fish. He talks about being mentally tough. Moving forward, day 38, 1:02 in the afternoon, talking about Dave. He says he's really hitting the energy low. He really wants to stay out, but needs food to keep going. He wants to stay out there is what I'm saying. He needs food to keep going. Since he can't get mice, he decides to make some flies for fishing. I thought that was smart. He's going to see what happens, so he decides to cast a line. About 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he casts a line. He's fishing, and about, 2-3 hours later, about 4:50 or so, he catches one. He's happy. He immediately says thank you. He gives thanks to it. You know, I thought that was cool. It's the biggest fish that he's caught yet. 17 inches. That's a big fish. It's a lot of calories, a lot of protein. And the fish had eggs in it. Then there's an annotation on the screen, and it says fish roe is high in protein and rich in minerals like potassium and sodium. And he ate the fish eggs raw. Kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies. I'm like, oh my gosh. It was kind of a nasty shot. He had blood on his face. I guess if I was on day 38, I'd do the same thing probably. Just get it in my belly, you know. Let's move forward. Day 39, 10:12 in the morning. We're talking about Fowler. He's checking his trap, and it's sprung, but there's nothing in it. So he reloads it. He decides to get more traps set and work on his shelter some more. My thoughts were he doesn't act hungry like the others are. And that makes me think that, you know, because of his body fat that he's carrying on his person, his body's getting the resources through that fat. That's just my personal thoughts. And he's carrying all these stones up for his fireplace. And then there's an annotation on the screen that says every day Fowler climbs the equivalent of 8 stories to his shelter site. That's crazy. That's 8 stories. That just blows me away. So let's move forward. 11:36. We're still on day 39. We're talking about Dan. 7 people left. He talks about not having metal traps, and that he's too big to climb the mountain. I think he's starting to break mentally, personally. He's starting to kind of get a little bit, I don't know, I could be wrong, but who knows. Let's move forward. Day 39, 1 o'clock, Fowler, 7 people left. He's really pushing his limits. He's working on hauling rocks and building shelter. And then there's an annotation that says high intensity workouts increase metabolism and cause the body to burn more calories for hours afterwards. Moving forward, day 40, 3:22 in the afternoon, 7 people left, talking about Fowler again. Shelter is looking nice. It's close to being done. He made a nice looking rake. He calls it a broom, but it looks like a rake to me. Pretty cool. He carved a rabbit for his daughter that night, about 8:42 in the evening. You know, he did a little wood carving. I thought that was cool. Made a little rabbit. Let's move forward. Day 41, 11:46 in the morning. 7 people left. We're talking about Dan. He's talking about starving. He's talking about carving Santa Claus, and he's starting to get negative. He's starting to get kind of negative in his talking, and he says he knows the day that Gosh, I'm just getting tongue-tied. My apology, folks. He says he knows the day can come that he will be victorious out there. Let's move forward. Day 42. Day 42. Think about that. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 7 people left. We're talking about Fowler. He feels like he's running low on energy. He says building this shelter and doing all that work might have done him in. He says he doesn't feel like he has the body for this. Now, personally, I'm not out there to feel what he's feeling, but I personally respectfully disagree. I think his body type does give him the resources that he needs for it. I think he's just at a temporary low right now. Let's move forward. Day 43. 7 people left. 9:46 in the morning. We're talking about Callie. She says that she's feeling great. Her shelter is very positive feeling. And look, it has a positive look and feel to it. She made a bamboo wind chime. She's been busy. She made shelves. I love her shelter. She decides she's going to make a sauna or a sweat lodge. This is an old Native American thing. It's pretty cool. I've been in one before, and they really enlighten you spiritually. It's really cool. So she takes a tarp off of her wood shed and uses it over a sauna. So what she did, I got a little bit ahead of myself here. She took these sticks and stuck them in the ground and bent them up and made a dome shape out of them. Okay, and then she took a little cordage and lashed them together, made this frame, this skeleton, and then she put her tarp over that. It fit perfect. She's really impressive. You know, the whole thing about her shelter and her little, it's really impressive to me. She said the river rocks are notorious for exploding in the fire. So she made a grate out of bamboo as a precaution. There's an annotation on the screen, and it says certain types of rocks can crumble or explode when exposed to high heat. She even made a walkway up to the sauna out of moss with bone like on a border. It's really cool. Really cool, really cool. And she has rocks in the fire outside. And this next part cracked me up. The editing team missed this. She says she said Patagonia, but she said Pata MF Gonia. And I mean, it said it clear as day. The editing crew missed that one. I was laughing. Yep, she said MF. She's doing great. Callie's doing great. Let's move forward. Day 43, about 7 o'clock at night, 7 people left. We're talking about Callie again. She's taking rocks in, says it's already warm in there, and she gets in her sweats. She gets in there and sweats, does her sweat, talks about the next chapters in her life, things that are important to her, things such as finding a partner in life, a spouse, kids, buying some land, building a home or whatever, business, things like that. She said that she's starting to feel the next big shift in this journey coming on. That she feels closure coming. Wow. Let's move forward. Day 44. 10:32 in the morning. 7 people left. We're talking about Callie. She's sitting there. She's got her radio in her hand. And she says, I thought about this all night. I have shocking news. Her journey here is over. It's time to go. So she gets on the phone and she calls it in. And I was just like, oh my gosh, she was one of the toughest ones. You know, she was one that I felt was going to do really well. And then she says, "Get me the president." And then she fakes quitting. Oh my gosh, Callie's something else. I would have done something like that. "No way, Jose. We're just getting started," she says. And I like the way this episode ended. Callie's cool, and that's the end of the episode. Wow, what a crazy episode. So folks, I want to say thank you for joining me today on Season 3, Episode 5. I hope you got some good, useful information out of my commentary. Please feel free to leave comments down below. Like this video, share this video, and if you like the content on my channel, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. And until next time, have a beautiful day, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care, folks. Bye-bye now.